Hi, my name is Michael. I'm 19 years old and I am a student at FIU.
Uh, Hi, my name's Gus. I'm 19 years old and I'm a student at FSU.
Hi, my name is Diego. I'm 18 years old and I go to FIU.
I remember Brian as just being a normal kid. I met him back in middle school. He was always doing pretty good in school. He was a clean-cut guy, never got into any trouble. We would hang out most of the time, just eat lunch together, and our little group of friends that we would always hang out with. And I think what he was most memorable was, those big ass titties of his. Those things were large.
Yeah, I remember that night. It was about a couple of weeks back. We were hanging out, doing nothing out of the usual. All of a sudden, he looks at me and he said, "Gus, I have an emergency. I'll be right back." And then he just started running. He didn't stop running. He left his keys with me. I was gonna give him a call back, but I figured he'd come back anyways for the keys, so I just decided to let him be. I went back to the apartment, and about 2-3 hours later, I received this call from the county jail, and it's Brian, and he's telling me and begging me to come help him. He needs help, and I just figured it was a joke, I mean, I get these prank calls very often from him, and I just had a test the next day. I couldn't deal with that. All this time I've been thinking it's a joke, and then it ended up being true.
I did end up seeing Bryant that night. I'll never forget that night. He called me around 2 in the morning. I mean, I was already in bed in my PJs. The reason I didn't think that it was a prank call is because I could already tell around that time that things were going pretty bad for him in his life. He was being quiet, a little shady about things, and so I run over there, still practically in my pajamas. I show my ID, whatever, and then I see Bryant in his cell. And at first, I couldn't really see what he was doing, and he's got a cock in his hand. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. As I was saying, I see Bryant. He stops what he's doing. He puts his hands up on the bars. I'm freaking out. He sees that I'm freaking out. I run up to him. I grab his hands. I don't care what he was just doing. And I look at him in the eyes. And I say, "Brian, what kind of shit have you gotten yourself into, man? What are you in here for?" And he looks at me and I'll never forget, "Name it."
I think I started noticing a change in sexuality towards the end of senior year. We were in a locker room once. We were about to go play some basketball on the court, and we were changing. There was no one there except us two. He had taken his shirt off, and I noticed that he had a tattoo down his lower back. And the tattoo was a picture of a train, and on the bottom it had written clearly, it said, "No free rides." I read it out loud to myself, but I didn't think he would hear me, and the first thing he does is turns around and says, "Maybe for you."
Hi, yeah. At the beginning, we didn't really know who she was, but eventually we found out she's a pimp. Yeah, pimp. She goes by the name Lil Heidi or Lil Lolo. Sometimes I see them together late at night, random street corners. I can't really tell what they're doing. I can only imagine. But let me tell you, she's a real firecracker. I mean, she has around like this. I remember one time we were all playing this poker in my friend's backyard, and all of a sudden she just bursts right in through the back door, goes around, comes in screaming, "Where's my bitch at? Where's my bitch at?" Brian gets up, puts up his hand, "I'm right here." We're all just stunned. We didn't really know what to say to him. Next thing you know, she just walks up to him, pulls him to the side, and then bam, right across his face. He goes from left to right. We saw a tooth come out, and just blood over the floor. She tells him, "Pick it up." He bends over, and then she just kicks him right in the stomach. He picks him up, she picks him up, carries him to the truck, and just disappears. Just like that.
How do I think Brian's parents are taking this? Bad. I mean, he has completely disregarded the way his actions, the way he's living his life, affect everyone around him. I mean, his friends and especially his family. For instance, I went to his house not too long ago to celebrate his birthday, like I do every year. I always show up to his house. That's where we celebrate it. And I mean, I knew things were going bad at this point already, but I really didn't think he'd miss out on his birthday. So I go, I knock on the door, I got my gift in hand, and the door flies open. It's his parents standing there. They got their happy birthday hats on. I can clearly see it. They had bought a cake with candles. His other relatives are in there, and everybody is crying. Everybody. And his parents walk up to me and they say, I guess they had thought it was going to be Brian at that door, but it wasn't. And I asked, where's Brian? Where is he? And they said that little Lola had come and she had said, no cake for Brian.
Do I think Brian will make a comeback? It's hard to say, but probably not. The guy's been in and out of rehab more times than I can count. Doctors don't want him there, the nurses don't want him there, the patients definitely don't want him there. Nobody likes him. And not to mention that him being there, you have to deal with Lil Heidi, Lil Lolo. She goes in there every other day being like, "Where Brian at? Where Brian?" It's a hassle. It's something the rehab center does not really need. And not to mention the last story that I've heard, that the last time he was in rehab, he actually managed to break into a janitor's closet, steal some chemicals, smuggle them into his room, and start his own goddamn meth lab.
30 years, Honestly, I don't think he's gonna live that long. I mean, if the streets don't kill him, Little High doesn't kill him, the drugs will probably do him in. I mean, he's done everything that I know of. He's done weed, crack cocaine, heroin, acid, meth. I mean, you name it, he's probably done it. I remember this time, I was in my apartment around 6 o'clock. I get this text from him, and the text says, "Gus, I'm swimming across the Atlantic, the VA ain't gonna stop me." And I get this text, I'm all confused, so I try to call him, see what's up, see if he's, on drugs or anything. And as I'm calling him, I hear all this screaming outside the window and all this splashing, so I go check it out, and it's Brian. He's making a scene in my community pool. He's actually drowning from what I see, and, every day that he's alive is just another miracle in my eyes.
I have no idea actually where Brian is or what he's trying to do with his life, but I do know one thing. Just like me and just like everyone else, I'll never stop hoping. We miss you, Brian. Goodbye, Brian.